Chapter 3, Section 8 deals with multiplying and dividing rational numbers. The content objective is students will apply understanding of multiplication and division to rational numbers and use order of operations to solve real-world problems. And they're claiming that this one is only going to be a 45-minute lesson today. If you recall, they claimed that the last one was a 45-minute lesson and it was positively brutally long. But maybe they were more accurate this time. We can hope. Of course, you want to take and start off by writing 3-8 and then this part right here that says multiply and divide rational numbers. That's the first part of your notes, your title. Have you ever used a recipe to make your favorite dish? The recipe shown serves 6 people. Suppose you are hosting a picnic with 15 people attending. Come on, baby, work. How could you find the amount needed of each ingredient if you want to serve 15 people? Assume each person has 1 serving. Yeah, right. A big party, people only can eat 1 serving? But anyhow, these are the kind of things that we're going to learn in today's lesson. Now, the rules that you have already learned from multiplying integers still apply to positive and negative natural numbers. A positive times a positive is a positive, a positive times a negative is a negative times a positive is a negative, and a negative times a negative is a positive. So for this one, the product of positive 1/7 times a negative 2/3 is going to be, nope, it's going to be a negative answer. Check it. Easy math. A positive times a positive is going to be a positive answer. A negative times a positive is going to be a negative answer. And finally, a negative times a negative, that's going to be a positive answer, just like the ones we've worked before. So let's move through these slides here and take a look at how we would multiply -3/4 times -7/9. You guys actually already know everything you need to know to just stomp a mud hole in this one, because we've multiplied fractions. That's the first lesson we did, and we've multiplied positives and negatives. I mean, you're ready. You should be able to handle this, no problem at all. First thing they did is they simplified. They said 3 went into 3 once, 3 went into 9 3 times. Remember, you can simplify vertically and diagonally. You cannot simplify horizontally. From here, the next thing they're going to do is multiply numerator times the numerator, denominator times the denominator. Remember, your textbook has suggested putting the negative signs up on the top. You can do that, or if you were doing what I would do, I would have gone straight from this to that. I'm not going to require you to show me this step in the middle. Negative times a negative is, of course, going to be a positive, so your answer is going to be a positive 7/12. No reason to type it in, because you know what? They gave it to us right there. All right, now it's going to be your turn. Pause the video, solve this problem, and let's see if you can get it right. And it's coming. Still coming. There it is for you. -2/5 times 3/10. All right, did you get it? Let's work on it together. Simplify. The only thing that's going to simplify are the 2 and the 10. 2 goes into 2 once. 2 goes into 10 5 times. And then we're going to multiply. 1 times 3 is 3. 5 times 5 is 25. And a negative times a positive is going to give us a -3/25. Let's go back and check our answers, which is going to go like this. A negative fraction 3/25, accept and check, and why did it say we're wrong? Is that not what we got? Yeah, that's what we got. I'm thinking that the textbook did an issue here, so let's see what they're saying is the correct answer. Oh, it checked right that time. Well, that's weird. But what if we had mixed numbers involving positives and negatives that we're multiplying? It works just like all the problems you've done before. First thing you're going to have to do, and you don't really have a choice about this, is you're going to have to take and change those mixed numbers to improper fractions. And when the computer catches up, we'll show you what that looks like. When you're adding and subtracting mixed numbers, you have a choice. You can work them as mixed numbers or you can work them as improper fractions, depends on the situation. But with multiplying and dividing mixed numbers, you don't have a choice. You have to write them as improper fractions. You can't work them as mixed numbers. So they converted those to be negative 16 over 5 and 15 over 14. From here, there's lots of simplifying they can do. 2 went into 16 8 times, 2 went into 14 7 times, 5 went into 5 once, 5 went into 15 3 times. See if we can make that a little bit bigger for you. There you go. And then from there, multiply what's left. You have the negative 8 times 3 and the 1 times 7. Once again, I'm not going to require this of you, but it's a good idea to do it because it makes it less likely you're going to lose your negative sign. And from there, 8 times 3 is 24, 1 times 7 is going to be 7, negative times a positive is a negative, and of course you always have to write your answer as a mixed number or fraction in simplest terms, so the final answer is going to be negative 3 3/7. Now to talk about it, I ask, how would these steps be different if you did not simplify the rational numbers before multiplying? Well, that would mean you'd have some really big numbers that you'd end up getting, and then you'd have to simplify really big numbers. It's always easier to simplify before you multiply than to try and find all the pieces parts after you multiply. And once again, it is going to be your turn. Multiply the rational numbers whenever they get loaded up here. It shouldn't take too long. There's your problem, negative 1 1/6 times a negative 2 2/7. Pause the video, solve this problem. Did you get it done? Let's take a look at how I did it. First, I'm going to do my Texas thing, changing my mixed numbers to improper fractions. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 gives me 7 over 6, and that's negative, times 2 times 7 is 14, plus 2 is 16 over 7, and that's also going to be negative. Now, I don't really like it with the parentheses there, but we're going to work it that way. From here, we're going to simplify. I can start off by saying that 7 goes into 7 once, and 7 goes into 7 once. I can also say that 2 goes into 6 3 times, and 2 goes into 16 8 times. And when I multiply all that out, 1 times 8 is going to equal to 8. 3 times 1 is going to equal to 3. A negative times a negative, that's going to be a positive, and our final answer is going to be 2 2/3 when we convert that back into a mixed number. That is showing your work. That is what I must see. If I see anything else, you will have done it just for fun. Now let's test our answers. So we said our answer is going to be 2 2/3. Accept and check, and our answer checks well. Easy math. Anybody can do this stuff. When multiplying rational numbers written in different forms, you need to write the factors in the same form. What's that mean? That means you need to write them all as decimals or all as fractions. If the fractions and mixed numbers are decimals that terminate, you get a choice. You can use decimals or you can use fractions to multiply. However, if they are non-terminating, you don't get a choice. You have to work them as fractions, and quite frankly, guys, fractions are your friends. There you go. You've got to be able to use fractions. They're so much easier and so much quicker than working with decimals when you know how to do them. So here's an example problem. Find 1/3 times a negative 2.75 and write your answer in simplest forms. And we get choices here, but do we really? Can 1/3 be written as a terminating decimal? It cannot. Remember, for it to be a terminating decimal, the factors of your denominator have to be either a 2 or a 5, or a combination of them. That's it. So it's because this one cannot be written as a terminating decimal, we're going to have to work it as a fraction. We don't have a choice in that. So let's follow the textbook as they go through how to work this problem. First thing they did, the negative 2.75, they changed that to be negative 2 3/4. Easy switch. We should know that one without having to do any calculations. From here, The next thing they're going to do is change that negative 2 3/4 to an improper fraction. Easy again. Next thing we're going to do is simplify, but hey, there's nothing going to simplify in that one, so they're going to go straight into multiplying 1 times negative 11 and 3 times 4. Once again, you don't have to show me this step, but it's not a bad idea to show it because it helps you keep track of your negative signs. Positive 1 times negative 11 is going to give you negative 11. 3 times 4 is 12. So the final answer for this one is going to be negative 11 over 12. Easy math. Nothing to do in these. Fractions are your friends, guys. Learn to use. Alright, now it's going to be your turn again. Pause the video once the script finishes loading and solve the problem that they give you. The problem is going to be 2/3 times negative 4.25. The first question you need to be asking yourself is, can I write 2/3 as a terminating decimal? Did you solve it? What was the answer to the question? Can you write 2/3 as a terminating decimal? No, you can't. It's going to be 0.6 repeating. That means we have to work this as a fraction. So I'm going to do 2 over 3 times a negative 4.25. That's the same thing as saying 1/4. Now I'm going to take and change my mixed number into an improper fraction. So I have 2/3 times, that's going to be 17 over 4, and that's going to be a negative number. Now we're going to take and simplify. 2 is going to go into 2 1 times. 2 is going to go into 4 2 times. That's the only things that will simplify here. So we're going to go back to our blue marker, and 1 times 17 is going to be 17. 3 times 2 is going to be 6. A positive times a negative is a negative 6. Change it back into a mixed number. Your final answer is going to be a negative 2 and 5, 6 for your final answer. We can go back over and check it. A negative 2 and 5 over 6, except, and come on computer, catch up. There it is. Check it. Our answer checks well. Easy math. Anybody can do this stuff. Ooh, shiny. Evaluate 1/2 times A times B if A is equal to 1 3/7 and B is equal to a negative 4 over 9. Write in simplest terms. Everything is given to us as a fraction or a mixed number, so we don't even have to worry about using decimals on this one. We're just going to go straight into working the problem, substituting in the values for A and B, and I just realized they want y'all to actually work this one on your own, it looks like, maybe. Or scroll down. Oh, there it is, scroll down. So we're going to take and substitute the values of A and B in. You can see that written in red there now. What's the next thing you're going to do? You're going to change your mixed number to an improper fraction, which is going to look like that. And now we're going to simplify. And remember, we can simplify anywhere across a diagonal or the vertical. We just can't simplify across the horizontal. So in doing that, they started off by saying that 2 went into 2 once, 2 went into 10 5 times. You could have actually simplified the 2 and the 4 as well. That would have worked. But that's all that's going to simplify here. Now we're going to take and multiply it out, and they have across the top 1 times 5 times a negative 4. You see that right here. 1 times 7 times 9. You see that right here. And when you multiply those, you get a negative 20 over 63 for your final answer. Easy math. Anybody can do this. It works like the others. We just add one more problem into it, or one more fraction into it. And now it's going to be your turn when the computer comes up to solve this problem. It's going to have multiple fractions in it, I believe, just like the last one did. You're going to have to figure out how to work it, giving us good quality supporting work along the way. And your problem reads, negative 3/5 times m times n, where m is negative 1 over 7 and n is negative 1 4/9. Pause the video, solve the problem. Did you do it? Let's see what I have here. So I'm going to have negative 3/5 times m's value is going to be a negative 1/7, I must have that parenthesis there, times my n's value is going to be a -1 4/9. From here, I'm going to take this mixed number, change it into an improper fraction. That's going to give me a -3/5 times a -1/7 times 9 times 1 is 9 plus 4 is going to be a -13/9. Now I'm going to simplify. I can simplify anywhere across the diagonals, which means 3 goes into 3 once and 3 goes into 9 3 times. That is the only things that will simplify here. So it's time to multiply. I'm going to say a 1 times 13 is going to be 13. 5 times 7, that's going to be 45. I'm sorry, 35. And then 35 times 3, that's going to be 105, I believe. Yep. And then a negative times a negative is a positive, and a positive times a negative is going to be a negative. So my final answer I came up with is a -13/105. That is a proper fraction. Let's plug it in and see if I am correct. Negative fraction bar 13/105, accept, and check it. Our answer checks. I think this is a good place to stop video 1. Come back and watch part 2, and we will continue on with our study of rational numbers, multiplication and division.